So good morning, everyone. So we'll continue with our exploration of laws of motion. And this session will keep springing from constraint motion to spring and then to pseudo force. So it's a revision session. So we'll move on to different topics related to laws of motion. So we'll continue from our understanding of constraint motion. We have done some questions on pulley and string system. So we'll continue with one example of the same. That's what the question is. Here, what is shown here is two blocks are connected to one pulley here. And then through other pulley, it is connected to third block here. Let's see this block mass is M. So what is given in this question here is this block mass is given as 1 kg. So let's mark whatever information is given and I'll try to understand what we need to find. Block B also is given, mass is 2 kg. So this mass is 2 kg is given. And what we need to find what has to be the mass of third block here, C, such that this block A moves with the constant velocity. That's the condition given. And we have to make use of this spring pulley arrangement, what is mentioned here. Let's start with this. How do we make use of the fact that the block A is moving the constant velocity? So moment we across the term constant velocity, I think this something immediately should come to our mind. See, constant velocity means it has zero acceleration. So this point is not accelerated. If it is not accelerated, if we just consider this as a system, it has only two forces acting. It has a force due to gravity, a field force, which is acting 10 Newton, if you take G as 10. So 10 Newton force downwards. Indirectly, that bit of information tells me the tension in the string also has to be equal to 10 Newton. So this also has to be 10 Newton. That's the information we can extrapolate from the statement given. So this is equal to 10 Newton. Okay, if this is 10 Newton, of course, the same string runs here. So here also the tension becomes equal to 10 Newton. And we can continue here. And then if since this is 10 Newton, we can continue all the tension in the strings. Then since this is 10 and this is 10. So basically this part also is T and T, this is 10. And we know if these two values are known, if we consider equilibrium of the pulley, this is massless, net force has to be 0. So this is 10, 10, so this has to be 20 Newton. So this also is known. So this becomes 20 Newton. This also has to be 20 Newton. And if this is 20 Newton, even this also has to be equal to 20 Newton. So that's what we have. Now, these two masses are given. We have found out what this value of the force is. We need to find this mass. Okay. Now we'll use the constraint due to this pulley string system. Okay. So what we have done here, the string we have found 10 Newton. This is having zero acceleration. We can also find, since here mass is given and force is also given, tension is given here. So we can find out what acceleration B will have. If I take this as a system, I can find its acceleration. So, and based on that, what is acceleration of block B? Block B is pretty simple here. It's having downward force of 20 Newton and upward force of due to tension 10 Newton. So net force is equal to 10 Newton. Mass is 2 kg. Hence, it will have a downward acceleration of 5 meter per second square. That's the acceleration this block B has. And you know, once this acceleration, this is known, this has zero acceleration, this has acceleration of 5. So from here, we can find out basically the constraint. This pulley will have acceleration, which is average of the two. One is 0, other is 5 downwards. So this pulley also we can find out this pulley will have an acceleration of average of the two, which will be AA plus AB by 2, which will become 2.5 meter per second square in the downward direction. And if this is 2.5, this pulley, so even this block also, this is connected here. So this also will have to have, this block also has an acceleration of same thing, 2.5 meter per second square. Now I come to this block. Since we have to find this mass, naturally we have to use this block as a system, then only can find the mass. So if we already have now force and acceleration, we need to find mass, which is fairly simple. Acceleration of block C is 2.5, force is 20. So what has to be the mass? This is force is to 20. So the mass of block has to be 8 kg. F is equal to ma. We find the mass of block C is 8 kg. And some of you, if you really understand it well, this question you might have solved without putting pen to paper, right? Let's move on to one more kind of constraint, and which is a very important one. It can be used in variety of cases. What is the condition? And which is a very common constraint. Common constraint is object is slipping on a surface without losing contact. When we say slipping, it means it is always in contact with the surface. It has not lost contact with the surface. So what constraint do we apply? So we have two things here. There's a surface here S and there's object A. Two things are there. And let's see, this is something, this kind of lift. So we can think this surface here is floor of the lift and block is kept here. And this is initial state. And let's say lift is in motion. What we find here, object is placed on the floor of the lift under motion. So we'll draw two states during time interval. This is the initial state, block is slipping on the floor. And this is what we see later. So what has happened, since the block is slipping, see, you can easily notice from here. If I see this one at initial distance, and sometime later, if I find this is what has happened, I clearly notice here, the lift has moved in the vertically upward direction, then block has moved like this. Now, since still the block has not lost contact with the surface here, so there has to be some kind of relationship between displacement of the surface and displacement of the block. They are not attached to each other. They are not fixed related to each other. So we, from here, fairly easy to notice what has to happen. Displacement in, rather than using y direction, let me use the direction as t cap and n cap. Because we involve a surface here. So whenever surface and slipping and all those things are involved, let me call n cap as the direction which is normal to the surface and t cap as the tangential direction. So what has to happen here? N cap displacement in the normal direction must be equal. Then only it will remain in contact. Tangential direction, it may have two of them may have different displacement. That's why slipping has taken place. So if the displacement in normal direction has to be equal, and if you divide by time interval, it means velocity have to be equal, and starting from rest, even the acceleration also has to be equal. That's the condition for slipping. Condition for slipping and still in being in touch, it means the normal surface and object. See, when you talk about slipping, there are two things involved. There's some surface and there's an object, and there's a normal direction. So both of them should have same component of displacement. Here also displacement has a particular component. Displacement of this block is something like this. If I take this point here, it has moved like this. This is the displacement. And similarly, velocity, average velocity also will be in the same direction during this time interval. What has to happen if we write the condition here? Their normal components of displacement has to be equal. Normal component of velocity of surface and block has to be equal. That's the condition for. So we need to identify which is the normal direction, and we can equate their velocities or acceleration as the case may be. So n is the direction normal to the contact surface, which is called common normal. If it is curved surface also, we can take a common normal. For slipping, the normal component of displacement and accordingly velocity and acceleration must be equal. And n is measured from here what? This n is here taken from the ground frame. It's all from the ground frame. And actually, this is the condition, this condition is also used very commonly in finding the normal reaction. What is normal reaction here also? So in this case, if object is moving on the surface here, so there's a contact force, and the contact force also we define into two components, normal component of contact force, which is called normal reaction here. So how do we calculate normal reaction? What is the law of motion condition we use to find normal reaction? Normal reaction is such which makes the normal component of acceleration of surface and block equal. We will see it later. That's how we find it. So normal component is a self-adjusting force, just like tangential component, friction. Normally, it adjusts itself to make normal component of acceleration of the object is equal to normal component of acceleration of the surface. And this is useful in case of inclined surface having acceleration. We'll see it later in some of the examples, right? So n is calculated based on this condition, and this is what we'll use. And you can call an becomes 0. This frame of reference. So even here also we use something like this. Here also it will have normal reaction. And even if the block is in acceleration, it may have vertical acceleration, horizontal acceleration, whatever acceleration it has. So whatever acceleration the surface has, if this is in contact, if I calculate acceleration of the surface here, take the normal component, and I take the acceleration of this block object also, and take the normal component. Normal component of acceleration must be equal, right? And let's take application of the same. What kind of questions? I have taken a question. Actually, this is 1 in 2 question, 2 questions in 1. Let's see how it is 2 questions into 1. So this is also comes under category of constrained motion. And here also you can see, if you take a sphere, it could be cylinder. Both cases approach remains same, because this is the point of contact. Okay, so this is constrained to move between a vertical wall and inclined surface. So motion is constrained in some form. So there are two objects which are in motion here, which is this inclined plane here and the sphere. And when they move, their displacement, velocity, and acceleration will follow certain relationship. What we need to do, we want to find out that relationship. Let's look at this. The sphere is resting against a fixed vertical wall and an inclined plane. Okay, and inclined plane is given a horizontal velocity u, like this. It is given a velocity u. So moment we give this velocity here, even this sphere also will have certain motion. And what we need to do, we need to find out what is the velocity it will have and which direction. All surfaces are smooth. So how do you find this condition here? So we notice here, what are things, how do we go about it? First thing what we need to understand, we can easily visualize here. See, this sphere will always be in touch with the vertical wall. If it is already in touch in vertical wall, if I look at its center, if its x coordinate will remain constant. If x coordinate of the center remains constant, basically it cannot have any displacement in x direction as long as it doesn't lose contact with the vertical surface, and which is not going to happen in this case. So it can have motion only in case of y direction, vertical direction. So this whole sphere will have motion in y direction, and which direction it will have a vertically downward motion, which we can easily, intuitively also we can figure it out. Second thing, it will have translation. So if this particular point has a velocity v, every single particle on the sphere also will have same velocity. So let's say now when we talk about this surface here, this is the point of the sphere which is in contact. And you notice here, as the sphere moves, see, as the inclined plane moves, sometime later the inclined plane may take this kind of shape. And still, even when the whole sphere will move down, still the same point P on the sphere will be in contact with the inclined plane. So what is happening here? So earlier it was in contact with some other point. Now it has slipped on the inclined plane. You notice earlier it was a higher position. Now it has come down to a lower position with respect to the inclined plane. So this question is nothing but this particle P on the sphere, which is in contact with the inclined plane, is moving along the inclined plane. And this is the condition what we have discussed just now. So if it is slipping, what is the condition we talked about? So whenever surface involved, we talk about which axis do we take? We take normal direction and tangential direction. So for no loss of contact, points in contact, see, this is something, two objects in contact will have equal velocity component along common normal. So which direction will take? So this is the velocity, it has v here. This inclined plane has the direction velocity u here. What is the condition? Now I will use normal direction. This is the normal direction. So if I take this velocity component in normal direction, if I take velocity of the inclined plane also in the normal direction, both of them must be equal. That's the condition. Now let's form the equation based on this. If I draw here, so again, same thing I have drawn here. This normal, and this normal, of course, will make an angle theta with the vertical. So this angle is theta. So hence this angle also is theta. We see, we all understand that part. So, and even if this is theta, and actually this angle also theta from here. This angle also is theta. So these are the two. This is horizontal velocity, which is the inclined surface has. And this is the vertical velocity, which is object which is sliding on. So object, we have replaced the whole object with a point here because it is in translation. So whatever velocity this particle on the sphere has, every particle on the sphere also will have same velocity, which has velocity v. Now let's take which component has to be equal. Let's take its component along common normal. This velocity component and also along common normal. Okay, so this angle is theta. So this angle becomes theta here. This angle is theta. So what is the normal component here? U sine theta. And if this angle is theta, this angle is theta. What is this component of V along n cap? It is V, sorry. Okay, so let's take mark its components here. What are the components it will have? Okay, this angle is theta. And if this angle is theta, this angle also is a theta. So what is the component it will have along n cap? It will have a component, this will have component sine theta. This will have component in that direction equal to u sine theta. And cos theta will be along tangential direction. And this will have normal component v cos theta, v cos theta. So these are the components along n cap, and these two must be equal. This equation, v cos theta is equal to u sine theta. And this same relationship is if this one has an acceleration, whatever relationship we have in velocity, if we differentiate, we get that relationship in case of acceleration. So if I write acceleration of sphere is as, and acceleration of this prism here is ap. So if I differentiate, dv by dt will be as. So as into cos theta will be equal to ap into sine theta. So whenever, if suppose in this case we can, so thus we have found relationship between velocities. Suppose this mass was given as m and this mass was given as 4m. And as soon as we release, we know this block will tend to accelerate towards right, and this will accelerate downwards. So can we find, using this condition here, this will, the normal reaction will act, and this normal reaction also, using this condition here, we can find the value of normal reaction, and we can find the acceleration of two objects here. Okay, so we have this question, we have solved for relationship between velocities, but same logic we can extend to solve acceleration of two objects if their masses are given. Right. Of sphere. Let's take a other case. In this case of sphere also, the point which was in contact with the inclined plane, same point had remained in contact, it has moved in the vertical direction. Rather than having a sphere, if we have a rod, vertical rod, and it is constrained to remain vertical, so it can only move in the vertical direction. Suppose we have rod here, which is placed on the inclined plane. If this inclined plane is given a velocity u here, with what velocity will the rod move? This rod also will have exactly same motion as the sphere has, because this is the point which is in contact. And as this prism moves here, this point of contact will keep moving down with the velocity which is having similar relationship as the sphere also. So any shape also we replace, as long as it moves in the vertical direction, similar relationship will apply. Let's come to some question on spring. And in case of spring, I think this is it. Two things are important. So let's quickly recap some of the common properties of spring which we use for solving question. One, we need to understand is spring has a natural length. In natural length, it doesn't unelongated or natural length. And mostly we denote with L0. So this is spring, it is a natural length. And when it is natural length, at both its ends, there's no force acting. Second case, now this particular case here. So, and this particular, if you look at this figure here, this spring has been given a displacement, lower end has been given displacement in the downward direction. Hence, the spring will apply a force in the upward direction or to whichever object it is connected to. And we know the force is K times X, X being this displacement. So this is the basic property of spring, what we use here. Let's try and solve this question here. The spring system, initially it is the state of equilibrium. So this is how the system will look like in equilibrium. This object is unaccelerated. It is in a state of rest. So net force has to be 0. So spring force, downward force is mg. Spring force also has to be mg. So spring force has to be mg. So what has to be, in, if I call, let's see, in equilibrium, what has to be the extension of the spring here? This extension. So K times extension has to be mg. K times extension has to be equal to mg, or extension is equal to mg by K. This is an equilibrium state. Now, what is given in the question? It is pulled down further by what distance? It has pulled down further by distance, extra distance equal to mg by 3. Extra. So what is the total displacement or total extension from the unelongated position? It is mg by k plus mg by 3k. So final extension is 4 mg by 3k. If this is the final extension, this is like your x value. This is like your extension. This is the change in length of the spring. So it will apply a force K times into this. So basically what will happen if it will exert at this particular state, it will exert an upward force which is K times extension. Extension is 4 mg by 3K. This force will be equal to 4 mg by 3. That's the force which will act on the block here. So that's what you need to find. What is the instantaneous acceleration? So we take this as a system, and this system we mark the forces. Gravitational force mg is acting, field force, and spring force is K times this extension from the mean position. So this is the force here. We know this force is definitely is greater than other one. So it will have upward acceleration. So we mark the direction of acceleration and we have taken upward direction to be positive. Now it's fairly simple. So from this, net force is equal to yes, mg by 3, and mass is m, hence it will have upward acceleration of g by 3. So fairly simple. Now come to some other question, and see, many times we come across question when spring is connected to string. Okay, and string, if string has a particular tension force here, and spring, if spring length is not changing, if spring length is not changing, spring also, this side also is T here, same tension. This is T, and this side also has to be T, because the spring, both the forces have to be equal. So if the tension in the string is T, here also force is T, and here also force is T. And if spring length is not changing, it means it is already extended, and extension of the spring has to be equal to T by K. If this is extension, what will happen? Spring length will remain in state of equilibrium, and length will remain constant. Okay, so that's when. So when does spring length remain constant? When it is connected to a string, when extension of the spring is equal to tension of the spring by K. Tension of the string by K. That's a condition for it to remain in the same length. Okay. Otherwise, it will keep oscillating kind of thing. And the length will keep changing. So let's come to this question. Same spring is attached to this three system. All cases spring is attached. What we need to find, this system is initially held in particular state and suddenly we release. What has to be, so initial extension of the spring, so that even after release also, its extension does not change. Okay. So what has to be conditioned if the extension does not change? As soon as you release the system, see, some force will develop in the spring. If extension of the spring is such that force in the spring is equal to tension which is going to develop in the string, then the length will not change. So whatever tension develops, if the tension develops is T, initial extension has to be equal to T by K, then only the length will not change. So what I need to do here, we need to calculate tension, which will develop on the string in normal case. Overall length not changing. Overall length not changing. So we know, so basically if spring length is not changing, even spring also can be treated like a string. Its length is not changing. So in this case, can we calculate what will be T1, T2, T3? See, we don't have to find exact value of tension. All we need to find, what is the relative values of tension. So when I look at this, that is very easy to find looking at this figure. How do we find? Let's look at this. This one at T1 is simple. Because T1 both are equal, both weights are equal. So it will remain in equilibrium and T1 will equal to 20 Newton. That's pretty simple. Second case, this mass is heavier, so this will have a downward acceleration, and this will have 2 kg mass will have upward acceleration. If a 2 kg mass and upward acceleration, the tension T2 has to be greater than 20 Newton and has to be less than 30 Newton. So basically, very easily we can come at T2 has to be greater than 20 Newton because 2 kg mass the string is connected to is having upward acceleration. Now come to third case here. This case, this mass is heavier, it will have a downward acceleration. If it has downward acceleration, it means T3 will be less than 20 Newton. So the tension developed here will be least. And if a spring remains unelongated, so this spring also is behaving like a string and its extension will be proportional to tension. So wherever tension is maximum, its initial extension also has to be maximum here. So this is the case where a maximum. So x2 is maximum and x3 is minimum and x1 is somewhere in between. That's the relationship. X3 is less than x1, which is less than x2. That has to be initial extension of the spring so that even after it's released also length will remain unchanged. Okay. We could have done this calculation also. There's no need to find this tension because whenever you have to find this one, we can save some time by without going into such detailed calculation. Okay, now this kind of question also common. Moment you see the figure, I think some of you would have understood. This question is about cutting a string or a spring. You see a scissor here. Scissor is here for a purpose. Scissor is here to cut things. Okay, so let's look at this here. The whole system is initially in the state of equilibrium. If it is in the state of equilibrium, there has to be some tension in the string, which can easily be calculated. Tension in the spring T will be equal to mg here, because net force on this is 0. And on this also, spring will apply some force. There's a 2 mg is the gravitational force. Tension force is mg, so total downward force is 3 mg. So the spring force acting in the upward direction also has to be equal to 3 mg. Or how we understand here, so spring and okay. So this particular is, since it is applying a force of 3 mg, it must be extended by length equal to 3 mg by k. So compared to its natural elongated length, it is already extended by 3 mg by k. Hence, it is applying an upward force equal to 3 mg by k. What is important point to understand here? The force applied by spring depends on the length between its two ends. If length has become greater than L0, it means the spring has been elongated and it will exert a pulling force on these two ends. It will try to pull two ends inwards towards itself. It will try to shrink. So it will try to pull the ceiling down. It will try to pull mal 2 kg up when the length is more. And this force will change only when the distance between 2 points changes. So in this case, for the distance between this point and this point to change, either the ceiling has to move, which is fixed, which cannot move, or this block has to move. And the second point, what you need to understand, if any object which is in a state of rest, so it is in a state of rest, initial velocity is 0. Even if we apply an acceleration A, even if we apply an acceleration, is displacement in very short interval in time dt. So what is change in position or displacement in extremely small time interval? Is displacement is 0. Okay, it takes some time. For velocity also will not change immediately, it will change gradually. So very short interval is displacement is 0. So that's the 2 points we need to keep in mind to solve such question. Now let's come and solve this question. Okay. In very short interval, sorry, we are at this question, in very short interval. So as soon as we cut this string here, what will happen here? As soon as you cut the string, suddenly the downward force which was acting on 2 mg will disappear. This tension will become negligible. So free body diagram of 2 mg will change. Okay. So what will happen to free body diagram of 2 mg now? And because of change in forces, it will get accelerated. But despite acceleration, its position in very small time interval will not change. So length of the spring will not change, the spring force will remain same. So if we have to draw free body diagram, how the free body diagram will look like? It will have two forces, the spring force, which will remain unchanged 3 mg in a very brief interval, and gravitational for 2 mg downwards. So net force is mg acting on mass of 2m. So it will have an upward acceleration of g by 2. That's the acceleration. What about this block here? This block, as soon as you cut the string, force disappears. It will have only gravity acting on it. So it will have a downward acceleration of g. So this is the way to solve. Key point to keep in mind whenever spring is involved. So whenever, if a spring is cut, okay, then force will become 0. If this spring is not cut, somewhere else something else is cut. So this, it is not cut between 2 points. So force exerted by is the distance between 2 points the spring is connected to remains unchanged. Force applied by the spring also remains unchanged. That's what principle you use to sign. Okay. Now come to some questions which can be solved using pseudo force, non-initial frame of reference, and it can also be solved in ground frame of reference. So let's understand. And there are certain questions we see later. At least we see one question which can be solved better in non-initial frame of reference. So let's see. The small block is placed. This is a fairly common question. Is placed, and we'll try and understand this question well from all possible ways. So a smooth triangular prism. It has an angle theta. So a small block, we call it block, and I call it this is prism, and it has angle theta. And a large block is given an acceleration a naught, such that it does not slip. So what has to be the value of a naught? How is this a naught related to theta if this small block does not slip? What does not slip mean? If I observe from the ground, what would it appear like? Well, if you place, well, this is in the ground frame of reference. The ground frame of reference, how would it look like? Okay, if this larger block is accelerated, of course, it will undergo displacement in the direction of acceleration. So motion of a block in the ground frame, after some time, this is what it would look like. So during some, it will undergo, if it is if acceleration is applied at time t is equal to 0, in time t, it will undergo displacement 1 by 2 a naught t square. But what is important here, if this block is not slipping, is position, if it was in contact with a particular point on the large block, it remains in contact with the same point on the large block. It has not slipped. If it has not slipped, means its y coordinate has not changed. Only its x coordinate has changed. And this also, if it has not slipped, means we can also treat this small block as a part of large block. Both of them gone same displacement, same velocity, and same acceleration. So ground frame, this block also will have an acceleration of a naught. Then only it will not slip. That's how I can see in the ground frame. The forces, net force acting on the block has to be in the horizontal direction. And if the block of mass is small m, net force has to be equal to ma naught. And where from the net force will come, we'll see that part. So that's one part as seen from the ground frame of reference. Let's look at what happens if observer is on the large block itself. We observe, so you place yourself, you're seen from the ground, you're done enough, you got tired of watching from the ground, so you want to get onto the large block here. So you get on, where is the frame, where is the observer now? You stand here and you hold the coordinate system. Where are you now? You are placed yourself here, right next to this block here, and this is the coordinate system. So when in this coordinate system, if you are part of, as this block moves, this coordinate system also moves. So what will happen? By the time the block moves, the coordinate system also come here. So in this coordinate system, I find initially also this small block was at this origin, and now also it is origin. And if not this also, I could have taken a coordinate system like this also. Whichever way I attach a coordinate system to the large block here, I find in frame of reference, which is moving with the large block, position of the small block does not change. That's what no slipping mean. So in this frame of reference, it will appear to be in a state of rest, or in this frame of reference, net force on this has to be 0. Okay. But this frame of reference, what is either this frame or this way. If I have a frame of reference which is moving in the block, which is accelerated, frame of reference also is accelerated. So when we apply Newton's law of motion, we need to apply a pseudo force. Okay, so inclined plane is accelerated. Pseudo force has to be applied on what? On the object to which Newton's law is being applied. So if I am applying Newton's law of motion to this particular block, which has mass m, the pseudo force also need to be applied, and typically you apply pseudo force at the center of mass. Okay, so pseudo force, and what is the pseudo force we apply? Pseudo force is equal to, this is how we write pseudo force. This is what the pseudo force is. So pseudo force depends on acceleration of the frame of reference. It also depends on the mass to which pseudo force is being applied, and its direction is opposite to direction of acceleration of the frame of reference. The frame of reference is accelerated in the horizontal direction towards right. Now you know, notice both of them have same acceleration. If it attaches to the block, same acceleration is block. So in that case, pseudo force has to be applied towards left. So if I draw free body diagram, in accelerated frame of reference, additional force will come. This is normal reaction, which is always acting. This is a real force. Normal reaction cannot be at any angle other than normal to the surface. So it will make an angle theta with the vertical mg and ma naught. And in this case, ax is 0, ay is 0. It is remains at rest. So that's the condition we are going to use. This block, a small block, is at rest. So we can solve in two ways. Two ways of solving this question is what? If three forces are in a state of equilibrium, especially, then what I can do, I can find the resultant of two forces. The resultant of two forces has to be equal and opposite to third force. And I'm just doing it so that it's slightly different way. And it is useful in many cases. This angle is theta. So resultant of these two forces, if I draw this one, resultant of two forces, it will make an angle theta here. What will tan theta be here? So tan theta is the angle the resultant of two forces make with the vertical will be equal to ma naught by mg, which is equal to a naught by g. Right? And the resultant also has to make same angle theta. You understand? Because the resultant also has to be opposite to n, which makes theta from vertical. So what is the value of a naught? We get value of a naught is equal to g tan theta. So what will happen if a is 0? It will have a downward acceleration. If I start applying some acceleration, still it will move down the slope with reference to the prism. But as we keep increasing a naught, its downward acceleration will keep slowing down. Okay, it will keep slowing down. The y component acceleration becomes slower, and a particular value of a naught is acceleration in vertical direction becomes 0. Okay, so as we keep increasing a naught here, is y component of acceleration of block will keep decreasing. When a naught is equal to g tan theta, ay becomes 0. What happens when we apply an acceleration greater than a naught? In that case, the block will tend to move in the upward direction. It will acquire an acceleration in the y direction as well. So only for particular value of a naught, it will remain. Its y coordinate will not change. It will not slip with respect to the inclined plane. Okay, so let's again understand from ground frame of reference. What we understood, if I see from ground frame of reference, it has an acceleration of a naught in the horizontal direction. It means net force also must be acting in the horizontal direction. Let's try and understand where does net force comes from. How many forces, how many real forces are acting on the block? Only two real forces. One of them is, of course, gravitational force, and second is normal reaction, which acts an angle theta. So let's mark these forces here. I'll just rub this eraser piece off. Let's understand the same problem in ground frame of reference. See, typically what we do, there are two forces here. mg does not change whether whatever acceleration this is there. mg does not change. It always acts in the downward direction. When we come to the normal reaction also, the normal reaction acts in the same direction at an angle theta with the vertical, but its magnitude changes. Can you think of a reason why does magnitude change? I have written already n cap here. What is n cap? N cap is direction perpendicular to the surface. So what it does here, if this surface, which is called large block, is given an acceleration here, if it is given acceleration a naught, the a naught will have a component along normal direction also. Since block has a component in the normal direction, even this small block also must have component in the normal direction. Who will give that force? In that case, what will happen? This n value changes depending on what is the acceleration along the normal direction. If acceleration in the normal direction is, it has positive component, n will increase. If it has, how would it will have a negative component? Let's look at these three cases. If I give a block an acceleration towards right, it will have positive normal component. If I give this large block of vertical upward acceleration, even this it will have positive normal component. If it has positive normal component, sorry, I missed one point before. What happens if we do not give an acceleration? If we do not give acceleration, see this force and n force, normal reaction will be such that resultant will act along the slope. Okay. That's how the resultant is. The closing side is the resultant. And what is this force equal to? Very easily can notice, forms a right angle triangle. Resultant force is equal to mg sine theta and is equal to mg cos theta. When does this happen? The normal component of acceleration of the block is 0. Now, in this case, what will happen? Let's see. If it has to have horizontal acceleration, how it will have horizontal acceleration? Net force also has to be horizontal. How does net force becomes horizontal? This value n reaction has become increases. Its direction cannot change, but its magnitude can change. If magnitude becomes so much like this, in that case, the net force becomes horizontal. So what has happened? N has increased to such an extent. So when you observe from the ground frame, as I said, it has zero acceleration in y direction. It means vertical component of n has to be equal to mg. Vertical component of n becomes mg. That's why it has no acceleration in y direction. When vertical component becomes mg, it will have certain horizontal component. So, okay, what is the horizontal component it will have? It will have n sine theta. N sine theta is the horizontal component, and that's why it will have acceleration in the horizontal direction. And n is equal to n cos theta is equal to mg. So what is the net horizontal force? In place of n, I substitute mg cos theta, mg by cos theta. It will have net force will be equal to mg tan theta. So what is the acceleration it will have? So we understood what makes the acceleration horizontal. The resultant of this force and n value is magnitude can change. It will when it is greater than mg cos theta, it gives this block acceleration having normal component, positive normal component. What happens if this block is given a downward acceleration? If it is downward acceleration, it means normal component is negative. In that case, what will happen? N value also will shrink. It will become less than mg cos theta. So you understand here, depending on what is the normal component of acceleration needed, depending on acceleration of the surface, the value of n change along the same direction. Its direction cannot change, magnitude changes. So some of you can try and solve this question. If this angle is theta, if we give we can solve this. Let theta be equal to 37 degree. So 4 cases we can take. One case, what happens? This whole thing is kept in a lift, and the lift is given a horizontal acceleration, positive horizontal acceleration g by 10. What will happen if we have given upward acceleration g by 10? Case 2. What happens if it gives a leftward acceleration of g by 10? What happens in case of downward acceleration of g by 10? One thing we can clearly understand here, these 2 cases, normal reaction will be greater than mg cos theta. These 2 cases, normal reaction will be less than mg cos theta. And you will understand why it will be so if you have understood this particular figure. Right. So this is what we have done in case of inclined plane. And very interestingly, inclined plane, it is, see, this block, as far as this block is concerned, its behavior depends only on this part of the inclined place it is in contact with. Okay, so what happens even if this part is not there also, it doesn't matter for this block. It is only concerned with this inclined surface. Now let's take another case here. If I take, rather than having inclined plane, I just have a rod here. A rod also is inclined at same angle theta. Rather than placing a block here, on the rod I have slipped a ring here. This ring, and we know if the rod is kept inclined at angle theta, if the ring and rod, there is no friction between the two, the ring will slide down and ring will have same acceleration g sine theta as this block will have. Now in similar case, if this rod is given an acceleration a in the horizontal direction, then its motion of the ring related to rod will change. If this acceleration a is equal to g tan theta, what will happen here? This ring also will not, as the wrong slide, with respect to the rod, this ring will not slide, same as this block. Same logic, if we draw the free body diagram of the ring also, is exactly the same. Okay, here also it was exerting a normal reaction. Here also this rod being smooth will exert a normal reaction, and this normal reaction will change depending on what the acceleration the rod has. Okay, so it has acceleration moment the rod has, acceleration in the normal direction is, if moment is acceleration is a component in the normal direction, normal reaction will change. How it will change? So that it will make the acceleration of the ring also, it will make the normal component of acceleration of ring also equal to normal component of acceleration of the rod. Let's look at this question here. This also is based on similar logic here. Is almost same as previous question, though it appears little different. So rod and ring. Now in this case, it is like a smooth wire. And this is the shape of wire bent in form of a parabola. And there's a bead here. Bead is something you can imagine this like a necklace. Necklace is a bead is threaded on a very smooth wire. And it's like this. It can slide without friction. And and if we put a bead here, automatically it will come to rest at the lowest point. It will, this lowest point only bead will remain at rest. Now the question is here, if this entire wire is given an acceleration parallel to x-axis in the horizontal direction. Okay, if we give horizontal direction, now it will not remain at rest here. There's a particular point on the wire where it will remain in a state of relative rest. What does relative rest mean? With respect to the wire, it will remain at the same position. It will not slide up and down. So that's what we need to find. What is the acceleration? Maybe if we give an acceleration parallel to x-axis equal to a, what is the new position of equilibrium with respect to the wire? So what we need to find here, distance or new position from the y-axis. We need to find this distance. What is this distance? X, where it will come, and when it comes, it will have certain y coordinate also. So that's what we need to find. And we know here, see what we had done earlier. This place also, see, moment we place on a wire, this wire also has certain slope. And as far as the bead is concerned, it is concerned only with the slope here. So when bead is placed on the wire, whatever slope the wire has, it is equivalent to a mass being placed on an inclined plane of angle theta. So if at this particular point, if I draw a tangent, if tangent makes an angle theta, in that case, A has to be equal to g tan theta. A has to be g tan theta. But what is tan theta here at this point? Tan theta is nothing but dy by dx. What is A has to be equal to? A has to be equal to tangent of slope of tangent drawn at the point where bead is at relative rest. So this is tan theta is nothing but dy by dx. That becomes my equation. This is what we need to solve and very easily get our answer. So similar to previous problem, slope of the wire at position of bed is equivalent to slope of inclined plane. Okay, that's what we can just imagine inclined plane having angle theta. And A has to be equal to g tan theta. Theta is equal to dy by dx. Dy by dx is equal to 2kx. We substitute. So what has to be value of x? X value is equal to A by 2kg. We come to that question also. When I come to this question here, this particular question is difficult to solve in case of ground frame of reference. This kind of question are most suited for non-inertial frame of reference. Let's understand what is the case here. So in this case, acceleration is more than g tan theta. The g tan theta will come equal to g by root 3. But what is the acceleration given? It is more than that. If we give an acceleration more than that, this block will have an acceleration which will have y component. The y block will tend to move vertically upwards, and since it is moving vertically up, it has to remain on the slope. It will tend to move up the slope because it has vertically upward component as well. So what we need to find here, how much time this block will take, this small block, to reach from C to A, which is 1 meter. Okay, so in this case, the motion of block is in the ground frame. If I try to understand its motion in the ground frame, what will happen when it is moved up? Its motion, it has reached here. So see, from here, how it has reached, we are not sure, but this is something, it will have certain path. And we don't know what the direction of acceleration is. And if you realize, most question in laws of motion, we solve by choosing x-axis along the direction of acceleration so that y component of acceleration becomes 0. That's the way we solve most of the question. Otherwise, we'll have x component acceleration, y component acceleration, and we need to know the ratio of x component and y component of acceleration. So in this particular case, if I had to do in the ground frame of reference, it becomes a little complicated, and we need to know then what is x component, what is the y component. But if I choose a frame of reference which is attached to the inclined plane, what is the frame of reference? If I choose a frame of reference, if I put myself here, if I observe, if I keep looking at this block from here, this block will tend to move directly towards me, or this block will move only along. If I take this kind of axis in this frame of reference, it will have direction of motion is well defined. So when the block, so by the time it has come here, this frame of reference also move like this. So during this time, the block will move along this axis in this frame of reference. So here the direction of motion in this frame of reference is known. So it is much easier to solve in accelerated frame of reference. So there's two reasons here. First of all, motion is we need to find time and displacement with reference to inclined plane. Hence, is better to solve in frame of reference. And second, we know it is much more difficult to solve in ground frame of reference. We don't even know what the direction of acceleration is. So this question, so we need to understand here. So what we do, if we solve in accelerated frame of reference, we also need to apply a pseudo force. What is pseudo force? Minus ma naught. It is magnitude is mass of the object to which it is applied, and the direction is opposite to direction of acceleration of frame of reference, which is same of acceleration of the large block. Okay, so this will have, these are the forces what we need to apply, and in addition to normal reaction. So in this case, again, we know if I call this as n cap direction and this as t cap direction, n cap direction, it will not have any acceleration in that direction. We are not concerned. Is motion, we are concerned only about acceleration along the slope in the tangential direction. Since we are concerned about acceleration only in tangential direction, we'll take, there's a normal force also acting, but normal force will not have any component. Only these two will have component along this direction. So what are the components it will have? If this is 30 degree, this is pseudo force, and this is weight. So what force will act up the slope? We know it is going to move up the slope. Its component will be greater up the slope. This will be smaller. So it will be mg cos 30. This and this component will be cos 30. And weight acts down the slope. That's why negative. And I'm taking here which direction I've taken positive. Sorry, I think this I have written this direction to be positive. Okay. Yeah, this is going to move in this direction. This is the direction of acceleration also in this frame of reference. So mg cos 30 and minus mg sine 30, and cos 30 is equal to root 3 by 2 is roughly 0.87, and this is 0.5. So difference is 0.37. So acceleration anyway will divide by m. So acceleration will be g into this term. So 10 into 0.37 is 3.7 is the acceleration of this block in the which frame of reference with respect to the inclined plane. So what is the time it will take using this equation of the motion? Time taken, s is equal to 1 meter. So s is equal to 1 by 2 at square. We find t is equal to 2 divided by 3.7. That will be the answer. Okay, so thus I will stop here and we'll continue further on friction after this session. Okay, thanks everyone.